And welcome back to Retrospect My Fantasy, where we are currently taking a look at the Final Fantasy franchise from beginning to end, and we're working currently on number 13. Now, before we get into things, there's a couple things I need to let you guys know about. Number one is that we recently hit our 50 follower mark, and with that comes the fact that we are going to have a bonus stream and giveaway, which is scheduled for the 31st of March, which is a Saturday. If you go to that link, that'll take you to my events page where I have it scheduled so you can give yourself a reminder or what have you. Now, in a few minutes here, I'm going to leave and go grab coffee that is being made because we didn't have any coffee and I needed to make some. But until then, let's talk about where we are in the story, because that's going to be important. So, last time we pushed forward through the crystal glaciers, I guess is what I would call it. And we were able to make our way to some sort of ruin, I guess. Not really sure what it is. But what it did have was an airship that Zaz, of some variety, that Zaz was able to fix up. And then we flew around a whole bunch and got hit by some lightning from probably another fal'Cie, but not a pulse fal'Cie, so it's all okay. It's a weird world. And then we cut to Snow, who was still trying to dig out Sarah with that piece of rafter when the military showed up. And he beat up a whole bunch, but he was starting to get a little tired. And then two women showed up. And we went into guard mode for a long time, and then we were able to capture them, convince them to work. I don't know what happened. We reached their Gestalt mode, we hit a button, and then they turned into a motorcycle for Snow, and it turns out they're Shiva. And then this woman and a new military group showed up and kidnapped Snow and took Sarah. So that's where we've left off. They're trying to set up a lot so that they can just move forward with the storyline. And I heard the coffee maker go off, so I'll be right back with coffee. And that was the actual coffee maker. Sorry, guys. What I thought was the coffee maker was actually one of my housemates using the microwave. So, now, let's properly get into this game. Now that I am officially coffeed. Because I'm gonna need it. How's it going, Slade? The Vile Peaks, that doesn't sound good. If you're willing to share, what important information?
Hey.
So I have a question for you, and that is, though I appreciate you being here, why aren't you watching the Super Mario Bros. Super Show right now?
Hey, wake up! You gotta wake up! Look!
Hey, slow down!
Ready!
Gotta keep you kids safe, right?
That's what you told Snow you would do. I don't really think these kids really need extra protection. They can use magic. And she has a weird whip, and the other one has a boomerang. I mean, a whip and a boomerang aren't a gun, but still.
Glad that's over.
I mean, even Indy turned to his gun when it came right down to it.
Man, I'm beat. What? No break?
They're tracking us.
I know that. I know that, but we aren't soldiers. We don't have your kind of stamina.
You got enough to complain.
You know, sometimes you just have to push through. Also, what's wrong with her leg?
I think,
I'd stick with her if I were you.
later then.
Come on, let's get going.
3 factions of 2?
Get going to where, exactly? The whole of Cocoon's against us. No matter how far we run, there's no escape. That Seath clock, it's still a ticking.
There's still time. You give up too easy, old man.
I'm not giving up.
He is an old man.
There's some things that you just can't change. A kid like you would not understand.
Yeah, I'm a kid. I don't understand.
Well, I guess we can be fugitives together. Oh. You ready?
Ready!
Whoa. Hey.
Yeah, she is a little bit too chipper for me. I know it's... I know more than I'm willing to say because I don't want to spoil anything. But she's too chipper for me. Okay, nothing over there. Ooh, do we have a whole bunch of new... We do have a whole bunch of new Crystarium points. Time to level up. Alright. That seemed like it was a good level up. Seemed like we got a lot in there. Ooh, Saboteur. But we're going to stick with medic for the moment. It's important to have a good medic. That's something I learned in, I would say TF2, except I seldom experienced either being a good medic or having a good medic in TF2. So I'm going to give that over to actually killing floor. That's where I learned the joys of being a good medic. Oh no! We had a choice.
But at least it's not the end of the line.
It's a really complicated looking set of constellations. More flashback.
The big one's coming.
Every time she does that,
Whoa, they didn't disappoint this year.
yeah, every time she does that, all I can think about is the either the Dark Heresy, or not the Dark Heresy, the Lex Mechanica Cog, or the Soldiers of Quela.
You look dreamy, Farron. Wishing on fireworks, were you? And you call yourself a soldier? Ah,
Sorry, Lieutenant. But I really don't think guard duty is my calling, sir.
well, lucky for you, your shift just ended. Pack it up and go home.
But, sir,
SciComm found something in the vestige nearby. They don't want the Guardian Corps here stepping on their toes.
Interesting.
I'm sure you heard about the accident at the Uriday Gorge energy plant, and how it has the SciComm lads in a tizzy.
yeah. More incident than accident. Something pulse-related.
You're taking tomorrow off?
Sir, for my birthday, sir. My sister, she insisted on it.
21, huh? Maybe it's a good time to send off that letter of recommendation for officer training.
Lieutenant,
You're past due for a promotion, Farron. Think of your sister and your future. And,
He's a good guy.
Keep your nose out of trouble.
Although,
out of SciComm business, you mean?
he definitely,
Yeah. Nothing good'll come of it. Nothing but grief.
he's a good guy, but he definitely has a bit of a loose lip.
That one. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
How right you were, Lieutenant.
He definitely let some things slip that he probably shouldn't have. But then again, he's probably dead right now
Just
anyway,
you.
so whatever.
For now, I guess. Should we wait?
They'll catch up, eventually.
Will they? The Synergist role. Synergist plays a supporting role in combat, using their abilities to enhance and strengthen themselves and their allies. As a Synergist, Hope can learn abilities to improve the party's defensive capabilities. That's fine. I probably won't use that for quite a while. Ah, so close. What do we have him as? Well, let's finish off his new Ravager. That'll be most important for me, because I like this team to be very, very aggressive. Or as they say in dumb as hell paintball terms, ag. It's an old paintball term, and it's very dumb. This guy's pretty tough. He's got a lot of hit points. I can't wait till we get one of the 3-prong Nerf boomerangs. That'll look awesome. Where was that? There it is. Another Libra scope. We're not very far into this. If we had to save, that'd be pretty bad. Or had to reload in normal fights, that'd be pretty bad. Alright, let's get rid of the Threxton. Yeah, good work.
Stuff is what was left over from the scrap the Foul Sea took from Pulse to repair Cocoon.
That's an interesting little bit of lore that we don't care about and very easily passed up. And probably should have been highlighted more somewhere, possibly in a cutscene where we're forced to do nothing but pay attention. But you know, random running along dialogue. We're pretty hurt. I should probably heal us, but how bad could it get? Oh, that was way too close. And what did I just say a little bit ago about needing to reload from so early on from normal enemies? Alright. We're probably... They want us to use Synergists, so... Super Soldier it is.
Stay sharp.
Wow, that thing really ran through us. Alright, that one's down. So the problem with having medics is, right now, everybody's full. All our medic is sitting there waiting to do is to cast a healing spell the moment we get hurt. Which is kind of nice, but we probably could have killed this guy if all they had done, all they need to do is change one thing. When there's nothing on the tier list for them to do, the very last thing is basic attack. Been much happier had they done that. Not gonna say happy, but happier. Wow, this guy's got a lot of hit points. Let's mess him up. Our melee attack. Can I get rid of Ruin? Can I take it off of the list? I don't know why she uses it when basic attack is so much more powerful. Unless we're going against flying enemies. Hey, look.
Guess we have to go back. I don't see any way over that.
You are not very creative and have not learned a whole bunch, so you don't know what you're looking at.
Can we get through this way, you think? You know where you're going, right?
I've been here on missions before.
Missions? Nothing to do with the Purge, though.
The Purge is PSICOM's baby. Our military is split into two arms. The Public Security and Intelligence Command, known as PSICOM, and the Guardian Corps. I was Guardian Corps, Bodum Security Regiment.
Wait, but I don't get it. If you're not PSICOM, then why did you board the train?
For Sarah.
How many flashbacks do you think are in this game?
Join the end of the line.
I'm gonna say somewhere around
Follow
50?
instructions and stay in your lines. Personal belongings will be returned upon arrival. Halt! Do not leave your lines. This is for your own safety. Huh? What's the GC doing here? This op's under PSICOM direction.
So direct me. Let me on. I want to be purged.
Only civs get purged. Sanctum staff and soldiers are exempt. Huh?
Then I quit.
Line up!
Excuse me. Hey, lady. What gives?
I volunteered.
Really? You don't look ready to go quiet into that good night.
You want quiet? You better take the next train.
Well, now I really want to see what you're up to.
Okay, now I have no sympathy for Zaz. This is all his own goddamn fault.
And out of my reach. My only chance to save her was to join the Purge.
You're telling me you got on that train so you could save your sister?
That's what she's saying.
That's crazy. I could never do something like that.
It's not a question of can or can't. There are some things in life you just do.
Also, if she turned in her weapon, how
Easy
did
for
she get her
someone like you to
weapon
say.
while on the train so that she could actually fight?
Lightning!
No big deal, right?
She left me.
Well, yeah. She wants to do what she has to do.
2, 3, we go.
What are you up to? Hey! Wait up! Can't keep up with this girl.
Yeah, why did he get the energetic one? Yeah, you already told us about synergists. Three-way battles. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Let's see here. Let's go Yin Yang, Ravager, and Healer. Well, that wasn't a whole lot. They need a lot more experience.
Tired?
Yeah, I'm getting tired. I'm an old man. Cut me some slack. Ooh. Man, credit chips aren't worth squat. I already have the Vega. And I already have a Blinding Rod. I'm assuming that is a different character's weapon. Should probably save now. It's been far enough in. Ooh, a three-way battle.
Time to get serious.
Well, I'm gonna go after the watch drones because I don't like those.
Bullseye.
And I don't really care if they continually fight that guy, because he's also an enemy, so screw him. Also, let's go to dual casting.
Not bad.
There we go. Ooh. These guys can dish out some damage. Also, their combo thing depletes super quickly.
Didn't even have to ask.
Well, let's just mess this guy up for a little bit. If it gets real bad, we can always switch back to healer. It's not a big deal. Come on, Zaz. You got it. Good job.
You got this, Vanille.
Look at these battles go. Aren't they super exciting? So, because the combat system of the game is not terribly interesting, let's talk about another aspect of game development. As I understand it, at least, Sir Slade has worked in the game industry a little bit, so he can shed some expert light on the subject, as it were. So, when a team is developing a game, we've talked about this a little bit. Typically, they're on a project for 4 or 5 years, depending on the project. Like, some projects, like The Walking Dead, like the Telltale games, spend more time in their scripting, like dialogue scripting, than they would actually in the programming and development. Yeah. Whereas something like a GTA, or even a moderate Call of Duty or Battlefield, is going to take a lot longer. That's why you see, as opposed to these really big expensive projects, more game companies are going towards, oh god, what do they call it? Continual... Is it continual play model,
Never seen a
or
rig like this before.
something like that, where essentially like the GTA Online.
Oh! Whoa, 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 whoa! I knew that would happen.
Where you continue to pay them money, and they still put out products, as essentially a subscription-based service, and they still put stuff out and work on it. It's just on a much smaller scale compared to the amount of money that they're actually receiving. So like Final Fantasies, you see Final Fantasies very infrequently because they're such long and arduous projects. I would expect even a half-assed Final Fantasy to take 7-8 years full development cycle. Wow, those guys hit really hard.
Ducks finally run out.
Which really all that means for games like this is that the team that worked on this game was not the same team that worked on 12 or 11 or 10. Most likely. I mean, certain members of those teams might have transferred from project to project. That way they can, you know, get certain people's expertise into areas. But really, what we're looking at is this was a team that probably didn't have a whole hell of a lot of experience with Final Fantasies, or if they did, it was a mishmash of teams from various previous projects. So what we're getting is a lot of designs that feel kind of half-baked here because, well, they were. Also, a lot of high-level producers will see something that they liked in a project, in a previous project. In this example, say Final Fantasy XII, the auto combat system, which they borrowed from 11. And they'll go, oh, hey, that game was really successful. What's something about that game that we can take? That seems to be really popular with people when we do our market research. And the gambit system was one of the things that people loved about 12. Unfortunately, it seems that in this case, Square took the wrong thing. Or, sorry, I shouldn't say they took the wrong thing. Because if they had just taken the gambit system, that would have been fine. But the way Square likes to do things is they like to take something from previous games, usually the game just before it, and expand on that, make the games feel bigger and more interesting. And not all the same. In this case, however, they picked very much so the wrong thing. Some of the characters in this game are most of the characters in this game are fine. Their storylines make enough sense that, and they're well fleshed out enough, although the way they do their storytelling is kind of piss poor, in my opinion. Constant flashbacks. The biggest downfall of this game is the combat system. So I got this idea from extra credits, and that is, the thing you are expecting your players to do the most needs to be the thing that is fun. So, in a JRPG, and this is actually why a lot of JRPGs have failed over the last several years,
Everything from Pulse is evil, doesn't it?
is that because... Ooh, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Is that because the combat system is what you mostly interact with in JRPGs, that is the thing that needs to be the most fun. Combat needs to be fun and interesting, otherwise nobody will like the game. Because that is what you do most in JRPGs. You come to a JRPG for the story, but if the combat isn't also fun, then you're screwed. You're getting in your own way at that point. Wow. That sucked. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Nuts. Finally run out.
Also, failure states need to be dynamic and interesting. Because if failing isn't... I'm not saying, like, fun. Failure isn't... You don't want your failure state to be fun, but you want your failure state to be interesting. Because when your failure state is interesting... then you have Pulse Worker. Let's go after him now. Then you have a whole hell of a lot less people pissed off at you Actually, we should do... Yeah. Because if your failure state is at least interesting, then when people fail, they don't feel screwed out of it. Which is why something like Dark Souls, well, there really isn't a failure state in Dark Souls. The failure state is your frustration, which is interesting. It's definitely not fun, but is interesting. It's unique in that manner. Now, it became less unique as they kept on making Soulsborne games, but it was interesting because dying in a Souls game is not a failure state. It is a setback, but it's not a failure state.
Bullseye.
And that is, if we ever do the Souls series, which I've considered adding it to the list, but I think that at least for the moment, as an entire franchise, the Soulsborne games might be too new. I mean, we'll think about it. It's definitely on my list of maybes.
Watch and learn, kid.
Thank you, my dear. Anyway, that's my little rant on game development. Seeing as how I've never been in the world of game development, this is all what I've gleaned from some some developers that I've known who have been either slightly part of the only slightly part of the industry, or small independent developers, or actually my biggest source of information on game development is Extra Credits, which if you've never seen, go check it out. If you like video games,
Piece of cake.
please go watch Extra Credits. Please. You can find it on YouTube. It's probably the most important thing you can watch when it comes to anything revolving around the game industry. So we want you... Alright, now let's go after the Thrextons. They cover everything from development cycles to microtransactions to loot boxes, how to become a developer, what you need to do to get into the industry, problems the game industry has internationally or even just nationally. Back to the Pulse Workers. It's a really important thing, and I literally cannot recommend it enough. Extra Credits is that important. Why the hell? So, seeing as how we could see this fight happening, why did we get involved in it at all? We saw these groups fighting. What? Why did we enter the fight at all? How you doing, Henry? Let's go back to this. Do you have anything to weigh in, Slade, on that little rant that I went on about game development and why I think that Final Fantasy 13 is such a mess? Being my only inside game dev. I mean, not that you worked on Square, or worked for Square, but still.
Thanks, Vanille.
You have a lot more experience in the industry than I do. In any at all.
Didn't even have to ask. Thanks, Vanille.
These construction robots. I mean. Actually, no. I feel bad for some of my friends that still work at Toys R Us. But it's been long enough since I've been a Toys R Us kid. I mean, it sucks that they're going under, but I quit working at Toys R Us. I quit Toys R Us. How? So I did 3 Black Fridays, so that'd be 2005, 6, 7. And then I left and came back to another one. So 2008 was the last time I worked at a Toys R Us.
Got left behind, huh?
The last time I went into a Toys R Us was like
This is
2012.
Can't keep up. Can't get home. It's over for me.
Well, I did 3 in a row, and then I
I'll
took
get you home.
some time off, and then came back for the next
have
Black
one.
Friday,
None of
and was
mine.
working 2 jobs at the time. So I technically worked 4 Black Fridays, but yeah. Oh, and I loved Black Friday. Working Black Friday at Toys R Us was the best. Somebody threw up onto my Facebook feed. No, it really is. I loved it.
Not making a wish home?
But somebody threw up on onto my Facebook feed a video of somebody doing the
That's for little kids.
a video of somebody doing the Toys R Us commercial song. You know, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. In the minor key, and
It's better like this. We don't need
that
it.
that jerked on my heartstrings a little bit. But
That night, they found the foul sea. In the
honestly, some of the best friends that I have today, I met at Toys R Us.
Soldiers sealed off the town, and we couldn't get back to Palampolo. They forced us onto the train with everyone else. My mom, she was frantic. She
And I
wanted
still
to
see my favorite supervisor from Toys R Us a couple times a week. She comes into
by snow.
the clinic that
They
I
used her.
work at.
Let's get you home, okay? Your dad's gotta be worried.
Let him worry. Why should I care? He doesn't.
Any father cares.
Yep.
Sass?
She got
It's
injured
not, forget it.
about a couple years ago and has had a couple
Come with me, okay?
repairs done.
This ought to do it. You've got time.
There's a lot of clinics in this area.
We'll get you back home. Your dad'll be happy to see you.
And saying that I used to work at Toys R Us is doesn't really
That was great.
open up a whole lot. There's been a lot of Toys R Us's in Oregon. If he wants to, go ahead. I'm prepared for an intruder invasion scenario. Hey, Mr. Robot. Haha! I ran past the robot. Because I wanted to turn around so I can sneak up on it. I mean, I'm not exactly Solid Snake here, so
Can't we just
I
talk
gotta
this
try
over?
and get, heck yeah, TriCaster? Let's mess this boy up. Honestly, I've tried Googling myself, and without using my username, you cannot find me on the internet. My name is too generic. But if you use my handle, then
Time to
I
pull the old
pretty much comes up
switcheroo.
immediately. In fact, I've got like half a page to myself. Woohoo. Neil's a saboteur, huh?
Bobbing and weaving.
Bobbing and weaving. I don't think we are. Honestly, one of my coworkers found me on Twitch, and I was really surprised. Just because, like, even my username is not... I mean, it's unique, but it's not... like, out of this world unique. Ooh, silver bangles are new. Black belts are new. And rune bracelet. But if somebody really wants to find me, let them. I mean, hell, Henry. It took you, what? Half an hour to figure out where I... Actually, not even. Like 10 minutes to figure out what city I lived in. Thaumaturgy sounds good.
Tough times, huh?
Not even. Which it's not there anymore. Yeah, I completely forgot that that was even on my Twitter profile when I put that link up. months. That's funny. It was like years. Because that Twitter account is actually a restarted Twitter account. I started it a long time ago when I was... So, history of the stream. Forever ago, and Surslade may remember this, I was planning on starting a YouTube channel where I would do reviews of kind of nerdy things, just in general. Like, we were going to start with killing Floor 1, and we were gathering a whole bunch of footage, recording it on Fraps. I got permission from Tripwire Interactive to do a review, and then I had a script about half written, but I just couldn't tie it together. And like I had a blip and a YouTube channel. Wait. If you remember that, that's only one of a handful of people you could be then.
There's something up there.
And you would have already known that I live in Eugene, and you were just being a jackass.
Come to Papa.
Because nothing ever came of any of that.
That's you. Done.
Anyway, to those other people who weren't in the know, nothing really became of that because I couldn't pull the script together. I worked on that script for probably 2 or 3 months, and I just
Isn't that
couldn't pull everything together that I wanted to.
You mean they made it this far?
Of course not. Not during the war, not since. They might have tried, but none of their forces made it into Cocoon. They only damaged the outer rim. Then the Sanctum's Fal'Cie pushed them back. What'd you, sleep through history?
More or less. So,
Did I?
what's a ship from Post doing here?
Well, damn.
Once the war was over, people couldn't live near the rim anymore, in places like the Hanging Edge. So the Fal'Cie, they gathered up scrap from Pulse and used it for rebuilding here. This is what was left.
But after that, it kind of fell by the wayside. Blip went away.
Pulse Fal'Cie and who knows
I had
what
initially
was
chosen
being
Blip
thrown
over
in the trash.
YouTube because Blip had a better payout system for their content creators. We'll get to that. So that was I was originally going to go with Blip, but Blip went away, and then
Stop wandering off and
YouTube.
stay where I can keep my eye
I
on
wasn't sure about monetizing on YouTube because they were doing all sorts of weird crackdown things and giving companies more power than their content creators. And it's YouTube's just kind of a mess. And then when streaming started, or not started, streaming had already been a thing for a little bit, but it was kind of low-key at the time.
Changing gears.
I found out about my favorite, who are my favorite, my favorite stream to watch, Loading Ready Run, because I watched their their content on their own channel, and one day I went to their channel, their website, and they had a little box in the corner that said Live Now. I was like, oh, what the heck is this? So I clicked on it, went and watched it, and that's how I found out about Twitch. And a couple years went by, and I kept on thinking about it, and kind of like poking around the idea with a sharp stick. And then one day, the sharp stick pierced the membrane, and I was into my elbow. And I did my first Final Fantasy stream that nobody watched. Final Fantasy 1. Until near the end, when I got my very first follower. And he was my first follower for my only follower for a long time. Went through Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2, one follower. Started Final Fantasy 3, and then some stuff happened in my life, and I needed to focus on my personal life for a while, so I went away. Now, I've told the story of my triumphant return, and that is, after some of that personal stuff kind of got settled, or mostly got settled anyway, I was like, you know, I should at least finish Final Fantasy 3. I started it. There was like, I think 2 episodes that I had done. I should finish it. I should, even if nobody else watches, I should at least finish Final Fantasy 3 for me, and we'll see at the end of Final Fantasy 3. We'll see. But I wasn't expecting anything. But during Final Fantasy 3, like, 4 people showed up and started watching it semi-regularly. Like, I don't think a single one of them saw it all. But over the course of Final Fantasy 3, a lot of my earliest followers showed up for that. And I had a blast doing it. Like, it was just a lot of fun. You know, then we moved on to 4 and 5, and I think it was around 6 where we hit our first goal of 10 followers and had our first 24-hour stream, which I thought I had prepared for that 24-hour stream. I had gotten good. I had eaten healthy for like 2 weeks. I hadn't had any caffeine for a week. I was doing my best to sleep as much as possible and kind of work my schedule up. I mean, I have bad insomnia, so I don't sleep well at the best of times, but I was trying to get more sleep so that I would be more with it without caffeine, and then I could go longer without needing caffeine to stay focused. That day, I took the day that we start, that Friday off from work. And with the intent of, I'm going to come, or I think I took a half day. That's what it was. I took a half day. I'm going to come home. I'm going to try and wear myself out by getting everything prepped. Like, I cooked food. I went for a run. Came home. Took a shower. Went to bed. Laid in bed for 4 hours. Slept for 3. Woke up again. My intent was to get a full 8 hours of sleep, and then have 2 hours to kind of pull myself together and get ready for the stream. Or at least that was the plan. That didn't happen, so that first 24-hour stream was really rough. You can even see it. I mean, at the end, I played GeoGuessr because I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't, like, game. I was having a hard time. Well, like, I was eating, like, small things. It was, like, fruits, vegetables, just, like, small amounts of trail mix, just to try and keep my energy levels up. and nothing was like at the end I just couldn't focus. So we ended the stream at like I wasn't even done with a GeoGuessr that I was on. Like 24 hours hit. I was like, all right, thank you for joining me. Have a good night. I'm going to bed. The second 24-hour stream, I was a lot more prepared for. Same sort of thing happened with the, like, didn't get much sleep beforehand, but I don't know if it was maybe just the time where I had the guests, Stone Lion and... Oh, God. No. If someone could do that, man, that endurance test would be ridiculous. But I don't know if it was just like when the Stone Lion and, or David, yeah, he said his name. When David or Ryan came in, I don't know if that timing was just better. So for the first 24-hour stream, the meal that I had while Roland and Ryan sat in for me was spaghetti with Italian sausage. So it was kind of heavy. But it was just a whole bunch of protein and carbs with a little bit of spaghetti sauce. The second 24-hour stream, my primary meal, was vegetarian chili with crackers. And then I had the same, like, I had a fruit bowl or a fruit dish, a vegetable platter, and then some trail mix that I just kind of snacked on during the stream. And that second 24-hour stream, not only did I stay focused, not only could I stay focused, but I had lots of energy, and that second one was so good, like so much better. Despite having the same initial problems of not being able to get sleep from before the stream, like that part failed, but everything else was great. So yes, we're not taking advantage of the damage that we could get on him. What we're trying to do is just kill the Incubus as quickly as possible, while not having this other enemy fight us as well. Hey, look at that. We got it. I wish that Zaz just had commando. That would make things a lot easier. Because his weapon is good. Well, that's all I've got to say on the 24-hour stream thing. For now. Later, we'll probably have more 24-hour streams. So, actually, here's something. While I was planning that 24-hour stream, I was actually conversing with Roland and David, kind of planning things out, figuring out how I wanted to do things. And one of the things that I brought up with him was like, well, what's other stuff that I could do in celebration of milestones? Like, you guys are smart guys. You watch streams. Like, what, like, 24-hour streams are great and all, but if that's the only thing I'm doing, there's no real incentive aside from burning myself out that you're really going to get out of continuing to show up for the milestones. And so that's when we came up with the idea of the doing a giveaway. I've actually got a whole list over in my Padfolio of just stuff to do for milestones. But this one sounded fun. I knew that 50 was affiliate status, and so my thought was, well, for reaching affiliate status, we should do something. I should give back to the community in some way, and the giveaway was the best thing that I could come up with. So this guy's dancing around and taking away our status effects. It's not cool, man. This succubus, huh? Let's see, what else is there? There's, I want to say there's, like, ordering someone food, like someone in the chat food. There's, if I can figure out a way to do it, like a select group stream only, so I would only allow certain people to watch the stream. Another idea that I had was group gaming. Find some game that we could all play together, and but I haven't come up with a good game that I at least have access to that does that well. That's not to saying that that won't happen in the future, just right now I don't have something for that. And as far as ordering somebody food, that's a great in concept, like ordering someone in chat food, but I don't necessarily want to like potentially weird someone out or make someone feel uncomfortable by asking for their personal, like their address or whatever to order them food. Also, like I don't actually know many of you, so like I don't know if you guys have any sort of like allergies or certain things that you just don't like or what. So that one's pretty far back on the burner in terms of potential like rewards for reaching milestones, but it's not on the table. It's just further away. Trying to think of what else is out there. I was really intrigued by A, the giveaway, and B, the like group gaming with you guys. I've seen some streamers do like Jackbox games, which is a real easy way to get the community involved. I was thinking of maybe doing playing some game that has like a large multiplayer aspect to it on a bonus stream or something, and then giving away a whole bunch of them, and then giving away like 4 or 5 copies, or however many is the maximum player base for like either gaming with or against each other, whatever the game happens to be, and then taking a break for those people to install it, and then playing it with them. Kind of combining the two ideas. Also, if I get to the point where I've got the equipment and the setup to do like larger streams, like tabletop games or something like that, is then like giving away said tabletop game. Like buy it for the stream, use it once or twice, and then give that away. Maybe signed or something, I don't know.
Change in the play.
Maybe even giving someone, just as a, I'm just spitballing this one off the top of my head right now, giving someone the ability to just, instead of voting, which is what I'm going to do, at least currently for the next franchise, maybe if I hit, maybe when we get to some milestone, just giving the option to somebody to pick a franchise for us to look at, like what the next franchise will be.
Hope snow's all right.
How are we doing? Wow, we've got a lot of CP that we've saved up. Alright. Synergist, huh? Well, we haven't done much with this, but picking all this stuff up. Oh, we're so close. Really? We're 14 away. Alright, well, let's see here. She's mastered medic. Let's finish up this then. And go over here to Saboteur. Yeah, nowhere near that one. Ooh, you've got a lot of CP saved up. Where did you get all of that? Steal it, you little punk. Alright. Then his medic, which is kind of, I mean, it's there. I'm glad he's got it so that we have potentially more medics on our team, but it's tertiary at best. Nope, nope, nope. Come on, somebody hit him. There we go. Good job. Alright, Thaumaturgy, let's go. Also, I don't recall if there's limits in this. If there is, that means we haven't hit our end of the tutorial yet. And I'm sorry for those people that may like this game, but this is no Portal. This game does not hold up on being a tutorial first. What about the potential stuff we'll get for doing more milestones? I've got ideas. It's just a lot of these ideas I don't know how quite to implement, or even if they are implementable. Like, I don't know even if it is possible to just do like a sub-only stream or a follower-only stream where only followers or subs can watch. I know that I could do like a subscriber-only chat for or for like Discord. That's easy enough to do, I think. I don't know how to. That's another one of those things where I haven't figured out how to set it up. I know it's I know that one's doable. I just don't know how to set that one up yet. I'm assuming I just create like a locked channel and then give out keys effectively to each person individually, each subscriber or something, if that's something that I wanted to do. I've thought about it. It's just that right now I've got 5 windows up. So I've got OBS over here, I've got the stream up right here, right next to it, sharing screen number 3. That way I can monitor the health of the stream, as well as the health of what I'm actually broadcasting. That way if there's any like major differences, I can isolate where the problem is, if the problem's on my end or on Twitch's end. And then on the main screen, I've got the game. And then over here, I have chat. And then over here, I've got chat and my Streamlabs dashboard up so that I can, in case I miss it, the actual pop-up alert over here on OBS, I can still see it for like bits or subscribers or followers or whatever. So if I wanted to have a Discord channel up, how would I do this? What I would probably do is get rid of, because usually when something goes wrong, it's not on my end, it's on Twitch's end. Like whenever we're dropping a whole bunch of frames, like that one time like that a couple weeks ago when we were dropping a whole bunch of frames early on, and I just reset the whole stream, and it fixed the situation. Actually, that was probably OBS, not Twitch, but either way, it still fixed the problem. Generally speaking, if there's a problem, I've got a couple of options. I can either reset the stream or live with it. Yeah, my family knows I stream. They don't really know what it is, but like they don't really get why people would watch someone else play video games. They don't see the entertainment value in that, but they don't, for the most part, see the entertainment value in video games to begin with. So that's kind of a hard sell for them. But that's why, like, with rare exception, I try not to... Like, I've got family stuff. Like, I could potentially do family stuff every day of the week after work. Like, there's always something going on in my family. But usually it's something that's honestly not really that big of a deal. Like, when my sister first started playing a sport several years ago, it was awesome. She was a little kid, she was playing a sport, it was great, I went to as many games as I could. Now that she's a lot older, you know, it's not game 5 that she's playing, it's like game 400. But, like, if my family wants to do birthdays or something on a weekday, I'll still take it off, because that's like an actual special event. What time is it? Half an hour. Okay. So, one thing I also don't like about 13, although this is minor. Oh, hey Lightning, is that
welcome
despite it being in windowed mode, it covers up the
Kill her to smile.
toolbar on the bottom for Windows that has the clock.
Time to move.
Okay.
So 12 didn't do that, but 13 does. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. It's just one of those small, like, little comforts that I got used to having the clock right there for me to look at whenever I wanted. And now it's not there. And I blame 13 for it. It's 13's fault. Whew. That was quite the level up. Alright, but we actually want... Ravager Commando Medic. We want diversity. Yeah. Trying to, like, figure out the best way to explain to my family who doesn't really understand video games what streaming is. Essentially what I told them was, so, you know how some people like watching game shows, right? Well, it's kind of like that. But instead of just sitting back and watching the contestants, you get to talk with them while they're doing the thing. And I mean, that was like the best way that I could explain it to people that don't really get video games. And that may not be the best explanation possible, but that was the best way that I could get it across to them. Like, what if... I can't remember... who was that guy that was on Jeopardy for, like, a month straight? If you could talk with him each night while he's filming Jeopardy, which was actually, like, early in the morning, but still, if you could just, like, sit there and talk to him while he's playing in Jeopardy, like, how cool would that be? Or, if you like sitcoms, what if you could, while particular actors weren't on set, because obviously in an actor's on set, they're focusing on acting. If an actor wasn't on set, what if you could just chat with the actor?
I'll do what I can.
That's good. That's all I can really expect of you, Vanille.
Come to Papa.
Alright, Succubus. Please go away.
Ha! That's you. Done.
God, Lightning is a DPS machine. For now. The moment we step up to an enemy that is not these guys, though, her damage output's gonna get cut down pretty harshly. For a family that doesn't watch a lot of TV, and the way you might like get across to them is like, especially if they like sports, is just do the same thing with like, hey, when Tom Brady's not on the field, what if you could talk with him? I mean, nothing like super serious, just, you know, shoot the breeze with Tom Brady when he's not on the field. I would have chosen another player because I think Tom Brady's kind of whiny. But I don't really know many other football players in current football. And I don't really know... I'm assuming LeBron is still playing basketball. He was fairly young the last time I heard he had moved from... changed teams. And he's still really good. So talk to LeBron, or... I have no idea for baseball or non-American football. Or soccer, as we like to call it.
Here we go.
At one point in my life, I partially followed football and partially followed basketball. So those ones I at least have an inkling of some of the players who might potentially still be playing today. But I never really followed soccer or baseball or like golf. Those just weren't my sports. And then I just completely stopped paying attention to sports. I stopped paying attention to sports more or less when I was about 12. But then every once in a while, you know, you still hear stuff, especially like Super Bowl stuff. But like hell, a couple years ago, I watched the Super Bowl for the ads. This year, I didn't even watch the Super Bowl, not even for the ads. I don't even know what teams played in the Super Bowl this year. That's how like far removed I am from sports at this point. And I did that on purpose, actually. And it wasn't that sports are like bad or evil or not okay for nerds or anything like that. You know, if you like sports, more power to you. It's just not my thing. And I also do believe that sports are inherently a nerdy thing. Especially when you get into like fantasy leagues. Fantasy leagues are D&D for jocks. That's the best way I've heard explained it, and I want to say that was Mike Krahulik from Penny Arcade that said it. But like, it dawned on me several years ago that everybody is a nerd. What you're a nerd about, that's... I mean, what are you passionate about? Do you love music? Do you love sports? Do you love video games, movies, TV shows? Whatever you're passionate about, that's what you're a nerd for.
Time to get serious.
Alright, this is an interesting setup. We want to take out the succubus, but we also want to, as quickly as possible, take out at least one of these cog workers.
I owe ya.
But our team is really good at killing things, so that shouldn't be too big of a problem.
I appreciate it.
The only thing that I've ever found, just in general about most cultures, is the exclusivity that some cultures will have. And I'm not talking about like American culture, Canadian culture, Quebecois culture. I'm talking about groups that we create ourselves. Nerd culture, sports culture. Most of these groups isolate themselves in seemingly an attempt to like take... So part of it is they want to take ownership. This is a psychological thing. If you're passionate about something, you want it to be your thing. And you don't want to have to share it with other people unless they're just like you. And I came to the conclusion a long time ago that that mindset of nerd culture is especially bad at this. Because most nerds were bullied or I wouldn't even necessarily say bullied, but discouraged from being nerds because being a nerd for a long time was not socially acceptable. So a lot of nerds feel that, like,
Hurry up.
they're paying it forward. They're being a jerk to pay because they were bullied or people were jerks to them. And I think that's just horseshit. Let people love what they want to love.
What do
And
you suppose that is?
as long as it's not hurting them or anyone else to enjoy something, so be it.
Armament.
And that's bad for us, isn't it?
You have eyes, don't you?
That looks like an orc mech from 40k, and I am totally down with that. All it needs to do is be painted red. The Dreadnought. So that little bit of discussion right there that we just went over, it gets into a little bit of psychology in terms of, like, the ownership of ideas. And, like, sometimes taking ownership of an idea or a concept or a thing makes you want to share it with people. And that's where I feel streaming really comes in, is we're passionate about these things that we do, so we want to share it. There's another part of that culture, and we see this all the time, especially if you're on Twitter. You see this like crazy. And that is, anytime someone's a fan of something, that it changes, someone's critical about it, someone's not critical about it. Whatever your opinion is the correct opinion, and everyone else's opinion is wrong. That has largely been, like, the call of the internet since the early days of, like, 4chan and Something Awful and YTMND, is that if you don't agree with me and my sense of humor, the way I feel about something, then you're wrong, because clearly I'm right. And that's bunk. I mean, like, we play these games to look at them critically. And some of these games are better than others, not just subjectively, but also objectively. Like, this sold worse, had more returns, was worse critically received, and consumerly, is that even a word? Was worse received by the consumers. This is objectively, to date, the worst Final Fantasy game, whereas the best Final Fantasy game, objectively, is either 4, because it's been reprinted the most, or reprinted. Sorry, I listen to a lot of Magic podcasts, so they reprints and things like that get thrown around all the time. It's been re-released the most, or and tons of people have bought it, or you can go with 6, which has the best critical reviews of all time for the Final Fantasy franchise, in that
Incoming.
even critics today who are playing it for the first time, not just the critics back in the day, consider it the best. It always gets top marks. So, whichever way you want to go, objectively, Final Fantasy VI is considered Final Fantasy VI or 4, depending on which criteria you want to go off of. Best sales numbers or best critical and peer review. Final Fantasy 4 or 6 is considered objectively the best, or depending on your actually not depending on your criteria, 13 is the worst. That's not to say that there's nothing redeeming about 13. There's a lot of interesting ideas. It's just poorly brought together and executed. And we can only hope that Square learned the lessons from this, that they needed to learn to continue making a successful franchise.
Tough times.
And to a minor extent, going back to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 12 lines up in chat, where Hi Mr. Henry says, now you gotta delete it all. That's an interesting thing. So, the Final Fantasy franchise, the playthrough that we've been doing, has been kind of a jumping off point for me, as well as because it's a franchise that I know pretty well. I know a lot of the tropes. It's been a part of my life for a long time. So I feel like I know it the best and can talk about it the most. Beyond that, it's also how I cut my teeth. Shit, did I? I'm really bad at keeping this a secret. And because there's been a lot of technical issues, a lot of like figuring out how streaming works and how I want my own style to be, I've actually been toying with the idea of not immediately once I'm done with the franchise, but much later on, after maybe a year or so after we've been doing this, deleting all that way people that really want to can go back and watch them on the archive, but ultimately deleting the Final Fantasy playthrough because it's a lot more rough. And like, we're only now, I wouldn't say just now, it was around Final Fantasy VII that I feel like I started like coming into my own and figuring out my style and how I want to do this and my tone. And so like it took me a while to figure it out, and even then, once I started figuring it out, it was still a little rough. So there's a very good chance that at some point the Final Fantasy franchise will no longer be up on the archive. Now, that being said, it's been a while since I've played Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and I've been thinking about trying to track down a copy of Final Fantasy Origins, because even though I already did it officially for the run-through, those VODs did not get saved because I didn't think about it at the time of downloading them and saving them for my own, even just my own personal archival use, or potentially even putting them up on YouTube. I just figured that, Twitch would save them, right? Nope. So that footage was all lost. And so I thought about trying to find a copy of Final Fantasy Origins for PlayStation and playing through 1 and 2 as a bonus stream and adding that to the Final Fantasy archive. Now, those games aren't very long. Those games are each like 12 to 20. I want to say they're for a reasonable playthrough, not a speed run. They're like 12 to 20 hours tops. I want to say top end is 20 hours on Final Fantasy 1 or 2. So that wouldn't take us very long to complete. Just a few weekend bonus streams, and then it would be over and done with. And it'd be fun to go back and play those again after playing all these super high-end, fancy-looking... Alright, the medic role is now available to Lightning, and the commando role is now available to Zaz. Thank goodness, Zaz can now be a commando.
Pulse is crawling with things like that, isn't it?
Got me. Not even the Corps has access to intel on Pulse.
Why would they?
Soldiers in the field fight blind.
Yeah, I noticed that. But don't you need to know exactly what you're up against?
Target's a target.
You like to keep it simple, don't you?
I stick to my goal.
As long as you have a goal, you can fight?
Pretty much.
You can
I mean,
stay alive.
that's a better answer. Alright, you can now upgrade weapons and accessories at safe stations using the Omni Kit and the various components you collected on your journey. So we've been selling those all, so that sucks. But we've collected some new ones. Alright, so we are going to hit up to the next save point. And we'll call it a night there. I mean, if I screw it up occasionally, it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna scout ahead.
I mean, it's not exactly a large city, it's kind of a small city, but there's enough people here. Hell, I've actually met other people with my exact same name, so I'm not exactly the easiest person to track down. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming and hanging out with me tonight. Before we go, I would just like to remind you that we are partners with Humble. And if you take that link, not only do you get to sign up for Humble Monthly, or pick up a Humble Bundle, or even just pick up some games from the Humble store, but you'll be supporting charities, and you'll be helping support this channel. And today they just launched a new sale on Square Enix titles. One of which that I'm going to be picking up, because it's, I think, the only one that we're missing from that franchise. Yes, Rise of the Tomb Raider is on sale. I'm personally going to be picking that up because it's one of the few games in that franchise that we're missing. And most of the Final Fantasies, I want to say, are on sale. It's a pretty big sale. I recommend at least going and checking it out, especially if you're interested in anything in the more recent years that Square has to offer, whether it be some of these re-releases or some of their new releases, like I mentioned, the Tomb Raider that I'm going to be picking up, or Life is Strange. Go check it out. We'll be supporting charities, getting yourself a great game, and helping support the channel. On top of that, I want to remind you that if you go to this link, to the events page, you'll see there that we have scheduled our bonus stream and giveaway for Saturday, March 31st. It's going to start at noon Pacific time. I've set it to go to 8 o'clock. I don't know if it actually will, or if it might go a little bit longer. That's all up to the game and how long it takes us to get through it and do giveaways and bathroom breaks and what have you. But if you want to set yourself a reminder, you can do so there. If not, you can just check out the details there as well. But anyway, I would like to thank Sir Slade and Mr. Henry for participating in chat tonight. I hope you guys will have a wonderful night and join me tomorrow where we will pick up here with Final Fantasy 13 and see what's gonna happen next. I mean, Snow is still off all by himself. Actually, no, he's not off by himself. He was captured by a woman in another military unit, and it's something's going on over there, and I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Anyway, have a good night.